As a mission president, we regularly had our missionaries recite Section 4 of the Doctrine and Covenants. And no section of the Doctrine and Covenants is more applicable to full-time missionaries than Section 4. But when we dig more deeply into its backstory, its historical context, we quickly see that the message has much broader applicability than that. In about February 1829, Joseph Smith Sr. and one of his sons traveled to Harmony, Pennsylvania to meet with Joseph Smith. Joseph Sr. wanted to know if God had a role for him to play in this unfolding work. Section 4 is the Lord's answer. In this section, it's interesting that the Lord doesn't call Joseph Sr. to be a full-time missionary. Instead, he says, "O ye that embark in the service of God, see that ye serve him with all your heart, might, mind, and strength." In other words, this is a message to any of us who embark in the service of God in any aspect of it. The Lord continues and gives an invitation to Joseph Sr. to thrust in his sickle with his might. After he returns to Manchester, New York, Joseph Sr. quickly has an opportunity to do that. A young boarder who'd been staying with them was peppering Joseph with questions. He'd been reluctant initially to address those questions and say anything about what he knew. But after receiving Section 4, he then shares what he knows. He and Lucy's efforts are so effective that this young boarder prays and obtains a witness for himself, a witness so strong that he makes the arduous trek to Harmony, over 130 miles, so that he can know Joseph Smith for himself. In other words, Joseph Smith Sr. doesn't become a full-time missionary as a result of Section 4, at least not immediately, but instead becomes one of this dispensation's first member or disciple missionaries, sharing the gospel naturally in the course of everyday conversation, along with his wife Lucy, so effectively that Oliver Cowdery comes to know for himself that the gospel is true. Section 4, then, isn't just a mantra for full-time missionaries to recite. Instead, it's more of a charter for any of us who embark in any aspect of the service of God, and an invitation for us to thrust in our sickles with our might, whether or not we wear a name tag.